We are a resource to help dads, parents, caregivers on a wide array of topics. Today, we want to talk about nutrition, especially for parents, especially in the summer. There's a lot of, kid foods that might be creeping into your diet, and just kind of talking about it. And I wanted to bring in registered dietitian, nutritionist extraordinaire, Jackson Blatner. Thank you so much for your time today.
Hi, thank you. I'm very excited about this topic because it's definitely something that everybody is noticing and struggling with. So perfect timing.
Especially like in my fitness classes that I have taken, I've heard, summer bodies are made in the winter. So that's really, really where you got to like hone in and start, focusing. But I feel like dad bods are made in the summer because all the rules that we've had just kind of like go out the window.
Yeah, well, one of the things that I think is so important is like you don't really feel a lot of the unhealthiness. You know what I mean? A lot of people they maybe talk about how they look, and maybe that leads to them thinking they're not so unhealthy. But so many things, especially for men and their heart health, are happening silently. And unless you're getting like your levels checked, your total cholesterol, your LDL cholesterol, your HDL triglyceride levels, like all of those numbers. That's the first step, I'd say, is beyond even just looking at your waist and your weight and the body, what it looks like, is do you know what's going on in the inside? That's really the first step. Know your numbers.
It's a difficult thing because sometimes you put it off, or you're like, I don't want to know, or I know I need to be a little healthier. But really knowing your numbers and going to the doctor and getting those checked out is a great starting place, because at least you know where you're at.
Oh, please. If there's one message, that really is it. Like, know your numbers, especially the, total cholesterol, LDL, HDL, triglycerides. That can be your starting point, because there's a lot of people who aren't gaining weight and you wouldn't know that they have some serious health issues. So not everything can be based off of what you weigh. There's very healthy people that might have, weight that you think they have to lose. There's very thin people that may have heart and cholesterol issues. So bottom line, yes, go get your numbers checked.
Now, I want to focus a little bit on summertime, but obviously, this is a topic that, fall, spring, winter, no matter what season it is, but especially now, kids are off of school. You may be not eating your normal, diet. You might be going out to eat more. There might be more parties. You may be having more adult beverages because friends are coming over. And some of those things that you would have been tied to on a normal time, summer, like, I feel like there's so much more temptation, and that's a little harder for people to navigate.
I gotta say, it's tricky. Every season has its pitfalls, right? So winter does have like hibernation, heavy comfort food, all of the holidays. So, winter's got its own problems. Summer has a different bag of problems. But I think the one wonderful thing in the summer is seasonal produce. I got to say, bottom line is fruits and vegetables taste better in the summer. They taste better right off of a grill. Cut up watermelon and peaches and berries and all of those things. Like, you really can add those things. You don't have to subtract from your parties. You don't have to subtract things. It really is, can I just add some more summer produce? And that is an awesome first step, because produce not only has antioxidants to protect all your cells, loaded in fiber, which can help regulate some of those cholesterol numbers that we were talking about. So, I got to say, yeah, summer has its tricks for sure, its trickiness, but that seasonal produce can really just be shoved onto a table and people will eat it if it's there. I always say in sight, in mouth. If it's there, you're going to eat it, whether that is, a grilled zucchini or berries or, fried something.
Let's start by talking about drinking your calories, because it's hot outside. People, obviously, you have to drink water, but people might want flavored water. People may be going towards a soda, or maybe, alcoholic beverages. So a lot of times you don't realize how much of the calories are coming just from your beverages.
Okay. Yes. Thank you for bringing this up. There is a number one thing that you can do that, in addition to like bring some more produce to your parties, is bottom line is really pay attention that you're not drinking sugar. It is literally the worst thing to be doing is drinking sugary drinks. So what can you do? It doesn't mean that you have to be in the corner and just drinking plain water. All, like you said, sparkling waters with no sugar added. There's so many flavors that you can enjoy in the summer for hydration. I'll tell you the other thing is like even like swaps. Like I do a coconut water lemonade where I just pour coconut water that has no added sugar. It's naturally sweet, but no added sugar. And then I cut a lemon, a full lemon. I take the peel off and I blend that together. And I'm telling you, it tastes like lemonade. It's delicious and no added sugar. Or even things like sun tea, like you forget, like you're out in the summer, you can like put some tea bags and water and squeeze lemon in there, put some mint in there instead of adding sugar. Bottom line is that's such a smart thing to do.
Because obviously it's easy to fall into that pattern of I'm going to get a sugary beverage, I'm going to eat a fatty meal, and then it's hot outside. Let's go get some ice cream, and before you know it, you don't realize just how much sugar you've added throughout the day just by just having one or two meals.
Yeah, I mean, it is one of those things. It can feel like a buzzkill, like to be like, oh my God, just eat vegetables, don't drink sugar, like all this stuff. But even things that you do, small things that you do could make a huge difference. So let's take even your ice cream, for example. You don't have to give up ice cream in the summer, but instead of having a huge bowl of ice cream, could you have a lot of berries or a lot of grilled peaches in a bowl with some ice cream on there, right? So you're still getting all the nutrition and natural sugar from fruit, but you're not really loading up on tons of ice cream. So you can still have what you like, but these tiny little tweaks can, I mean, seriously make such a big difference.
Another thing is, especially with kids around, and we can talk about kids menus, when you go out to eat, let's talk about that in a second. But as far as like an air fryer, because a lot of times kids might want a burger, chicken nuggets, they want fries, and you're like, we don't want to fry them because that's that's not the healthy version. But is an air fryer actually making those specific foods healthier, or what's your take on that?
Oh my gosh, this is great. Okay, so listen, I was like, do I need another kitchen gadget? No, but I'm going to try the air fryer because everyone loves it. A couple of years I've had it. I love the air fryer. It is, in fact, a better for you option, but this is a huge disclaimer. If you are buying frozen nuggets, frozen fries, frozen things, and think, oh, I'm going to put them in the air fryer to heat them up, that is not what we're talking about here, because they are fried and then put in the freezer. And so even if you're putting these things in an air fryer, it's still a fried food because it is originally fried from your freezer section. So what the air fryer is good for is taking real wholesome, minimally processed foods like actual potatoes that you cut up and put them in and make fries out of that. Or putting actual chicken tenders that are actual chicken, putting it in there. And that is where you're getting an unfried food. It has no coating on it from the freezer section. And they're great. It actually is one of the most moist, tasty, fabulous ways to make food. Love it.
And also too, especially with kids maybe wanting to have pizza and chicken nuggets and fries, but being in the kitchen and learning how to let's cut it up. Let's, if we want to put panko breadcrumbs on there, if we want to cut up the potatoes, so that they get used to the kitchen and not just opening the freezer and popping things in there.
Yes. Having kids in the kitchen helping actually makes them more likely to eat healthy food. We know this from all research, is that when kids play a role in what they're eating and how it's made, they will like it more and they will eat it. So if you're like, I have this picky eater, it's like, well, you know what? Get in the kitchen together and start playing around, and they will like what they make. They will like what they make. And, there's all sorts of swaps. If you like crispier stuff, you can swap regular panko or regular breadcrumbs that are white flour, chopped up like pistachios, for example, really crunchy. Or you can crunch up like whole grain pretzels or whole grain chips or whole grain crackers to get even a more crunchy coating on there. So there's always little swaps you can do to make these foods even better for you.
And we talked about it a moment ago as far as kids menus at restaurants, because I've been guilty about this. You go out to eat, you want to make the best choice. So I'll get the salmon, I'll get a salad, but she might get the pizza and burger. And I'm like, well, I'll take a bite of this. And before I know it, I've already eaten half of it. Talk a little bit about that dynamic of
I hear you. And here's the number one thing that I cannot believe. We are the only country that has something like a kids menu that's totally different food than what adults eat. Every other country, kids eat what adults eat. They eat regular food and smaller portions. They eat kid-sized portions. But it is not like this whole classification of kid foods anywhere else but this country. We have it really screwed up. Because the problem is that when kids are used to eating that, that's what they're going to constantly ask you for at home as well. So it's like, encouraging kids to eat what you're eating and not even getting a kids menu and having them explore and have a kids plate made up of what everybody's eating at the table so they expand their palate. And it doesn't mean you have to force kids to eat stuff they don't like. It is just expanding their palate to test and to try and to be adventurous. The biggest thing is exposure and having patience with it and not just saying, oh, my kid doesn't like it after having tried twice. It's bottom line, it's exposure, exposure, exposure. And as you are role modeling, if parents are eating this wide variety of food and colorful produce and great stuff, your kids are going to down the road at least be way more likely to eat all of that stuff because they've seen you doing it.
We talked a little bit about parties. So especially in the summer, you might get invited to something, especially if there's a lot of kids around. Someone's going to be ordering pizza. There's going to be maybe fried foods. There's going to be a lot of desserts. And there's always that one parent or this couple that like, I'm not eating. And it's almost like a stick in the mud where they like refuse. Is there a way to maybe not kind of give up that kind of energy, but still maybe have like allow yourself a couple slices of pizza or something so that you can still be social, but not feel like it's either all or nothing?
Yeah. So, I mean, the first thing is nobody wakes up wanting to be unhealthy. Nobody wakes up and wants to be overweight and have high cholesterol and do all these things. So most of us out there would like not necessarily a boring healthy option, but would like a better for you option. So being somebody who still participates, but offers the addition, let's like, instead of subtraction or, saying I'm not going to participate, what can you add to this party that maybe everybody would be excited about? It's like, okay, you know what? We're throwing things on the grill. I'm going to bring chicken kebabs. You know what? And whoever wants to eat it, great. It's not like I'm shunning your food. I'm participating as an addition of what I could add here. Or that I've tried this awesome Italian chopped salad that I love. You know what? I'm going to just bring it to see if anybody wants it. And you are going to be shocked that parents will start eating things like salads and chicken skewers and things because it's not usually available. So participation is key. Socialization like of food and making sure it's still fun is huge, but that doesn't necessarily mean to have fun. It always has to be like unhealthy stuff. Like you really can add to parties, more of these healthy things and people will appreciate it.
Oh, definitely. I mean, that is such an amazing piece of advice because I feel like people necessarily don't know, like, well, they said not to bring anything, but I don't want anything. And this is a great way, like, hey, I want to be an active participant. And that's not going to get you more invites to the party. Like, let's just be honest, right?
I love that. It is true. And, it really doesn't have to be a lot. It really could very much just be some salmon burgers you toss on the grill or like the chicken skewers or, even chicken burgers or whatever. It can still be part of the, whole party and the vibe of a grill out and an outdoor party. But just like these better for you versions, for sure. I like that. More invites to the party.
Yeah, especially if you're an active participant and not a stick in the mud, people are going to like, oh, we want to invite John to more of these parties. Yeah, that's going to be awesome. We talked a little bit about cholesterol in foods because cheeses, meats, fried foods is all going to raise your cholesterol levels. And who knows where anybody is at any given point if you're not getting your numbers checked or you don't know where they're at. But what are maybe some things that are maybe in some summer foods that maybe you might want to just keep an eye on that you don't want to try to elevate your levels, too much?
Well, I'm a huge fan of this idea of addition. I call it positive nutrition. So instead of let's be like, I can't eat that, I can't eat that, I can't eat that. It's like, what can you eat that can actively lower your cholesterol? And if you can keep eating those foods, it will sort of push out a lot of the other things. So the biggest misconception with cholesterol is that foods with cholesterol, like shrimp and eggs, raise cholesterol levels. That is untrue. That is old-fashioned. That is no longer how we look at this. Bottom line is we start looking at things like how much fiber is in your diet, because fiber, which comes from fruits and vegetables, whole grains, beans are a huge thing. Nuts and seeds, all of these healthy foods have fiber. And when you eat enough fiber, your LDL or bad cholesterol can come down. So it's like, instead of just being like, I can't eat these things, look actively at your fiber grams. And is every meal that you're eating have a fruit, a vegetable, whole grain, a bean, a nut, or a seed in there? Boom, good. You're on the road to more fiber for better cholesterol. The next thing, I call them like the 3 F's for better cholesterol. So fiber, huge. That's number one. You got to do it. Absolutely. Number two, second F, is fish. I got to tell you, you can have better HDL, the good cholesterol, and better triglycerides if you eat more fish. So that could very much be a salmon burger at a barbecue. I mean, it doesn't have to be drama. It could be a can of tuna that you had at lunchtime, like 2-3 meals a week of fish, great for cholesterol levels. And then the final F is fitness. As important as food is of the fiber and the fish, fitness can absolutely 150 minutes a week can absolutely help your heart and all of your cholesterol levels. So that's huge. And then, okay, fine. You know, those are the ads. Are there some things to subtract? Okay, fine. Cutting back on sugar and the white stuff, white flour, white pasta, white rice, the white hot dog buns, the white hamburger buns, the white crackers, anything with white flour or a lot of sugar like the desserts. Those things are going to skew cholesterol levels in a bad direction. So watching out for sugar and white stuff. And the second area is processed meats. So this is one of those things where it's like the sausages, the bacon, lunch meats, all of those things, trying to go more for like grilled real chicken breast, you know, grilled actual fish, grilled actual shrimp, you know, that kind of stuff. And again, shrimp, a lot of people avoid it when they have high cholesterol, thinking it has a lot of cholesterol, but that's not the biggest culprit of high cholesterol in our diets for sure.
What do you say to people, especially let's say you're one of those people who's resonating with this interview of like, I'm eating this, I'm eating that, I'm eating this. I don't know how to like turn it because maybe the kids may not want to, and you don't want to change your diet, or your spouse may not be on board with it. And it's tough to have one, you know, if you're a single person in your 20s or 30s, it's easier to follow something like this. When you're a parent and you're getting ready for work and you have to get one or several children ready and your spouse may not be on board, it's a little more difficult to navigate any type of change.
Yeah, I got to say, I think the number one thing is anything is better than nothing. And don't be a typical American that thinks you have to go from eating a certain way to a completely different way of eating. That is absolutely the number one way to fail. It's like if you try and make a bunch of changes. So if all you did was just say, you know what? You know, I heard her say something about fiber and seasonal produce. I think I'm going to buy a couple of different fruits and vegetables this week, clean them and keep them eye level in the fridge and just see what happens. Even that alone, that one change, you say, oh my gosh, I bought watermelon. Look at my kids snacking on watermelon now. You know, I bought strawberries and cleaned them. Look at our whole family finished 2 pints of strawberries this week. So it's this addition and not trying to go overboard with the change that is really going to be the key to positivity. And bottom line, if you like what you're doing, if you like these things, it's going to be something that sticks. You know, if you're forcing yourself to do something you don't want to do, it's never going to work. You know, Have fun with it. Have fun with it. Fun is the solution here.
It also takes me back because it's like, I'm thinking of like my childhood when we didn't have cable and there was, 5 or 6 channels. And if you wanted to watch something, you either had to pick one of those 6 things or no TV. And I feel like that's probably the same way too at home. It's like, if you're not keeping some of these bad foods around, and it's like, we have, we made some popsicles, we have watermelon and peaches. Otherwise there's no snacks. And like, okay, well, I'll have this. And before you know it, it's not not a painful, but it's not like, oh, I don't want this, I'd rather have this. It becomes like, oh, this is great, I haven't had this in a while, and becomes the path to a healthier change.
Yeah, you know what I like what you said there, Rudy, especially is this concept of like having fun with it. Like, you mentioned like a popsicle. Like, that's the thing. It doesn't have to be like, this is punishment. All you're eating is celery, It's like, no, it's like there can be fun ways to incorporate the fruits and the vegetables. And you don't have to do a million of them. You can just like assign yourself, I'm going to do popsicles this week for my family. I'm going to blend up some fruit with some Greek yogurt and put them in popsicle molds and see what happens. And, that alone is a great first step.
Obviously some people are going to look at this and say, I see so many things in my refrigerator and my freezer that I should probably get rid of. What's your take as far as like seeing the things in there and, trying to make a change? Do you kind of go through this and just not buy it anymore? Do you take everything and throw it out and start fresh? What is your kind of take as far as someone doing that?
I love this. So I'm a very positive nutrition focused person, and I'm not really big on, you can't eat this, you can't eat that, whatever. And so it's like, okay, so I have some fried nuggets in the freezer right now. It's like, all right, put your fried nuggets in your meal, but balance it out. So maybe instead of having the fried nuggets with also fries, maybe that day you're having fried nuggets, you're having maybe some veggies on the grill, maybe you have some sweet potato fries on the grill, when I say fries, I'm like fries, grilled sweet potato wedges. And you're balancing it out. So it's like you're still having those chicken nuggets and finishing them from your freezer, but you have a balanced meal. And then maybe the next time you say, okay, you know what? I'm not going to change everything, but I do want to see, can I put these chicken tenders in an air fryer and actually people will like them in this house, and then do an experiment, and have some fun. Good dipping sauces can also be, very fun, like seasonal pesto, and doing things like, fun different kinds of mustards or salsas, so bottom line is, having fun with this, doing it step by step is the key. It's the key. It's for it to stick long term for the whole family.
It's also funny too, because as you're getting kids to try new foods, there's always like, try this dipping sauce. Everything is a fun color or a fun shape. But then I think even as adults, it's like they have all these boards. So they might have like a cheese board, a dessert board, and people are like, oh, look at all these different sauces. Like that never changes from when you're a kid to you're an adult to get you interested in new foods.
Oh my gosh, I love that idea. Actually, we try and do that once a week in my house, is to try and do like a fridge clean out board. And so basically it's like, instead of food waste, which is the number one way to waste money, is bottom line is we just put out some pretty cutting boards and put a bunch of the stuff on there. And it's like one of the best meals because, like you said, we're like, ooh, and it's just all like leftovers and, stuff like that. But you're right. Plating and how it looks is a huge factor for adults and kids.
And for kids. And then as far as desserts go, we talked a little bit about, trying to incorporate some fruit. It's hot outside, so people may try to overindulge, or people go on like ice cream dates. What are maybe some suggestions, especially something that like the whole family can enjoy?
I am a huge fan of social sweets. The idea of taking the whole family to an ice cream shop and getting ice cream. And, single scoop instead of like gourmet sundaes or whatever. I think that is such a fun family summary activity. And it's like, okay, let's go do that. And on the other days where we're not walking to the ice cream shop as a family to enjoy this, not keeping necessarily ice cream just at home where you can eat it. I like these adventures and going out and going to get it. And at home, maybe it's more like, nice cream, which is made from frozen bananas, where they have like, you can put frozen bananas in like a soft serve machine and like it comes out as soft serve, or the idea of, even if you do have ice cream at home, can you pair it with fruit, and to just like sort of get this attitude of, it's not all or nothing. It's, doing a little bit of some, high antioxidant fruits with my ice cream.
And also too, I think as you think of, I think what changed me as a parent was, we had her during the time of COVID. So a lot of restaurants weren't open. You couldn't go out and do a lot of things. So you had to do a lot of more things at home, and you appreciated that time that you had. So it was more like, let's make a meal together. Let's sit and, play in the yard. We couldn't go out. There wasn't that much to do. But those are the things that you now treasure. And I think when you talk about walking together as a family to the ice cream shop, those are those things 15, 25, 30 years later, you sold, oh, remember we used to do this summer, or that was my favorite. And you think about that. Or even if you do happen to get 2 scoops or something that may be that you probably shouldn't be having, multiple times a week, but go out and play a sport with your kid, or go out in the backyard and play around and get some of that fitness in there as well, too, that it's not just ordering something through a drive-through. Everyone sits in their own corner on their phones, making these fun family memories together.
I love that you said that. It's all about a healthy lifestyle. So the concept of what is a healthy lifestyle? It is having fun with your family, doing sports, and at an ice cream shop. Like, this is really a big thing. In other countries, when you look at their like guidelines for health, one of the things that they have in almost everyone, from Brazil to European countries, everywhere, they have one of the line items is, have fun, enjoy your life, be active, eat with people, like celebrate food together, be off your phones, like those things do make a difference. So I think you're exactly right. If you look at the big picture of health, it's less about the details of everything you're eating and more about the big picture of how healthy are we, as a family, even doing things together, making these memories and being active.
And then final thing here before we go, maybe like school year's eve. I'm gonna say that's a new term. I'm gonna right before, because we've got August and then we've got September. Labor Day weekend is probably going to be a big blowout weekend for people, and then everyone's kind of going to go back to their regular routine. A tip for people, but then also too, you think of places like Chicago where you go, like you said, to that winter mentality of like, I want to eat carbs. It's cold. I'm going to eat as many comfort things because no one's going outside. But what's maybe a good mindset so that you don't look at yourself in the mirror on New Year's and it's like, here's where I want to make this change now, but what can we do, towards the end of summer during that transitional time to make better choices for the rest of the year?
Well, I know I've said it, but I think this is like stands repeating is the idea of what can I add? This is just not what people think about in our country. Our country is like, well, I don't eat this, I don't eat this, I don't eat this. I'm gluten-free, I'm sugar-free, I'm this and this. And I have to go on a crash plan and I have to do all these things. It's just like, no, hey, what can we add? It's like, okay, so maybe we're getting ready for the school year and it's like, all right, we're going to start making healthy sandwiches and we're going to swap our bread this year and see all different kinds of whole grain bread we like instead of white bread. Or like instead of doing like the typical peanut butter and jelly, maybe we do peanut butter and fruit instead of the jelly and see how this goes. And so you can be practicing some of the things you're going to do in the school year, the weeks leading up to it. So it's also not like a huge shocker to kids when they're going back to school and have different, eating styles. But bottom line is, you got to just think about adding as opposed to like doing some crash diet. And what are you adding? What am I saying? What am I adding? You're adding fruits and vegetables. You're adding whole grains. You're adding beans, like black beans to things, lentils to things. You're adding nuts and seeds to your snacks, to your salads. Those are the foods we're trying to eat more of. So if you start adding them, you're going to get full and you're not going to need as much of the rush of other foods when you have these things in there. And it doesn't feel bad because you're not cutting anything out.
Dawn, you are the best. Thank you so much for your time today. This has been wonderful. We can have a 7.5 hour conversation and not touch on every single part of the topic. So that just means we have to talk again soon.
I love that. And happy, healthy summer to you. Thank you so much for chatting.
Thank you.